Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now let's welcome our main speaker tonight, Dallas T.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, I'm Dallas. I'm alcoholic. I guess this is for me, right? Okay. Let's take your drink. That's what I did. I took your drink. Thanks, Patty. I think it was you that called in. I just, Colleen, is it? I loved your pitch because you said it all. You know, it's like that's what happens to us. You know, and I remember getting caught up in the system, and they just, you know, once you're in the system, it's all, you know, you can't get out of there. And let's see what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I went to my first AA meeting and treatment center in 1972. I just wanted to get off of heroin. I had no intentions of stopping drinking because I knew I wasn't an alcoholic like my uncles and my father, because I hated the taste of alcohol. You know, it's amazing how we can rationalize this disease. And you see, I smoked pot. That's what I did. I mean, I was a pot smoker. I loved marijuana. You know, I can identify with our pothead here because from the moment I smoked my first joint, I found cartoon land, and that's where I wanted to be. You know, and that's my goal, by the way. That's my goal in life was an IV in each arm. The rest of it, and a Coca-Cola and watching cartoons. That was my goal in life. I'm a recovering rock star too. So, 1972, I went into treatment to kick heroin, and they put me in a room with a guy that was dying of liver disease, and he had a huge belly, and he smelled really bad. And they said, this will scare him straight. And all I did was get pissed off at him for putting me in a room with a smelly, dying person, and demanded that they give me more methadone and remove this smelly, dying person from my room. You know, I wasn't impressed with anything or anybody. You know, I didn't care about anything or anybody. You see, like Colleen, I was a fucking victim. My mom died when I was 13, and I found her dead. My dad died when I was 16, and I got married the day before my 16th birthday. I moved out to Los Angeles, California when I was 17, and I became a rock star when I was 18. I made a lot of money, and it was funny because today I'm thinking. I'm putting the Malibu lights in my home, and I'm looking around, and my biggest problem was I had to make a decision which car to bring to the meeting, and some of you are thinking, well, gee, man, those must be the promises, and I'm here to tell you those are not the fucking promises, because I had all that before. You know, the problem with success for me is when you add success to an alcoholic, it's like adding Alka-Seltzer, I guess, to alcohol. I don't know. I hate myself. You see, this is not low self-esteem. I love it when people say I have low self-esteem. It took me 5 years to get up to low self-esteem in Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, I'm not kidding. 5 years was about when I could learn how to look in the mirror. You see, in 1984, I made a decision. I had a moment of clarity. I saw who I'd become, and I saw what I'd become, and I took a butcher knife and I stuck myself in the stomach with it. And that's exactly what I thought. And I thought, besides it hurting really bad, I thought, man, I wish I hadn't done that. You can imagine what somebody thinks when they jump off a building. It's like, oops, I wish I hadn't done that. And that's exactly what happened. I changed my mind, and the blood squirting out, and my wife at the time walks in, and I woke her up, and she says, "What have you done now?" And I said, "If I'm still alive in the morning, take me to the hospital." And she said, "Okay," and went back to bed. I've been married 6 times, by the way. That was an example of Dallas in early sobriety. So I just wanted you to know those little stories, because I want you to know that I qualify to be here. When I came to the Marina Center, I had no place to live. I had a sponsor named Nolan Warner who used to take care of me, and I slept on his couch, and I was on methadone, and he used to say, "Dallas, you got to get off the methadone." And I'd say, "No, man, you don't understand. It's my medicine. I need it. I have to have my methadone. I can stop drinking. That's not a problem. I can stop cocaine." By the way, it was cocaine that brought me to my knees, too, It was cocaine that introduced me to heroin. And I remember when I started playing drums. I started playing drums when I was 12, and my grandma in her Spanish accent said, "Oh my God, you're going to grow up and be a junkie." And I said, "No." She did. And I said, "No, Grandma, that's jazz musicians. I'm going to be a rock musician." And she said, so I made it a point to stay away from heroin. And I remember it used to just like, "Oh, you stupid junkies," I used to think. I had a girlfriend in New York. I remember she was just like famous groupie, and she actually dumped me for Jimi Hendrix. But I remember she was a heroin addict and a prostitute, and she was trying to support her habit, and I was just heartbroken because she was so beautiful. And I couldn't understand why someone so beautiful and so wonderful could do that stuff, and how they could treat themselves. How could you do that to yourself? And I was amazed when I woke up in 1972, and I couldn't find a vein. That's alcoholism. That's my alcoholism. That's where my alcoholism took me. I'm the alcoholic of the hopeless variety. I knew I couldn't get sober. I didn't want to get sober. I didn't want to live. I was on a mission. I was on a mission. You see, if there was a God, I knew that whatever this power was had to be awful. Because how can you take someone's parents, when you're a kid? How can you let your, these horrible things happen to, I had a shitty life. I had good reason to drink and use, man. I had every excuse you can think of. I deserved to drink and use, And I did it with a vengeance. And, I thought it was about you. I thought it was about you. I drank at you. I used at you. I used at them. Oh boy, Them was a good one. That was one of my favorite movies, that, by the way, Them. With the... alcohol and drugs are just a small part of my alcoholism. It has nothing to do with what goes on in my life today, but I still have alcoholism. I finally got sober in 1984 after that suicide attempt. I don't know why that was different than before, than all the other tries, other than the fact that I just ran out of gas. I just ran out of gas, you know. I didn't make a decision to get sober. I just wanted to be, I wanted to be able to play music. I wanted to play music again. The one thing I loved the most is what was taken away from me. I was in this big band, this big famous band, and it was, nowhere in this band could you find my name, and I never found I never felt a part of this band, and I was fired from this band at their peak, and they were like, at the time, they were the biggest rock and roll band in history, and next to the Beatles, of course. And I felt like the biggest loser that ever came along. I felt like I walked down the street and there was this sign hung on me, like, "You're a fucking loser." And so my goal was to stop the pain. I just wanted to stop the pain. I wanted to stop the pain of being me. I wanted to stop the pain of knowing that my life was never going to be what I hoped it would be. I didn't think it would not be what I wanted it to be. I knew it wasn't going to be what I'd hoped it to be. I stand here before you 16 years later, 16 years and some months, and it's like I'm telling somebody else's story. Because from the day I did my fourth step, my life changed. God started working in my life. My first and second sponsor, once I knew I couldn't find a job in the music business anymore because I had publicly, ruined my reputation. I wouldn't show up for jobs. I wouldn't show up for gigs. I mean, why would anybody want to hire me? And I was an asshole. I'm in your club. I was an asshole when I was loaded. I was an asshole. And it wasn't that I meant to hurt anybody. It was just that I was so fucking scared that I would strike out to you before you could get to me. I carried a gun all my life. My bass player got beat to death in Arizona, and I remember beat to death by these two college kids just because we had long hair. And I cut this guy with a box cutter, and I cut him from his throat down to his sternum, and he didn't die. And in fact, they didn't go to jail for his murder. So I carried a gun, and I was afraid of everything and everybody. And when they took my Dallas Taylor rock star status away, I was empty. There was an empty vessel standing here. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And my sponsor told me, you have a choice. You can get a job at the Pizza Hut, or you can get a job at this adolescent treatment center as a tech. And I thought about it for a minute, and I thought, well, shit, somebody will recognize me at the Pizza Hut, man. I better not. Really, nobody gave a shit. But that's where we go. We think, what the most important thing I've learned in 16 years is that I'm not the smart ass I thought I was. I'm not as smart as I thought I was. And that's the blessing. That's a blessing, because I don't have to be a genius. I don't have to be better than you. I don't have to be less than you. I've learned about what right size is. Being right size is being no better or no less than anybody, man. And that's the gift of recovery. The promises for me are the ability to have a relationship today. The promises are for me are the ability to get out of Dallas world long enough to care about whether or not there's a main speaker here tonight. To care about whether or not somebody in this room gets clean and sober. You know, there's a few faces in this room that I've had the privilege of seeing the lights come on. And that's the miracle for me. Those are the promises. The promises aren't the fucking houses and the cars and the jobs. You know? That's what I thought. I thought that's what the promises were. I thought you get sober, you get her. I've had 6 of her, by the way. 6 marriages I've had. That doesn't fix it. You know, I was talking to my friend on the way over here, and you know, we go through pain in recovery. I've been through a lot of pain, you know. 5 years into my sobriety, I got really sick, and I started to throw up blood, and my wife at the time said, "What's going on?" And took me to the hospital, and they said, "Well, congratulations. Have you been drinking, Mr. Taylor?" And I said, "No." Very indignant that they would even ask me, have I been drinking? How dare you ask me, have I been drinking? I have 5 years and I'm a counselor, fucker, you know. Somehow they just weren't impressed, you know. And they said, well, it looks like you're suffering from liver failure. You know, you're terminal liver failure. So we got to call in all these people. They pumped me full of blood. I lost 90% of my blood. I had like a pint of blood left in me. I was looking kind of pale. And this bit, you know, I just remember lying there with 5 years of sobriety, and the docs. I'm surrounded by this team of doctors, and now I feel like I am in a cartoon. Now I feel like, you know, Bugs Bunny standing there going, you fucked up this time, Doc, and you're going to blow it. And they said, well, you know, the good news is you've stopped bleeding, and the bad news is you have about 6 months to live. And, you know, and then I knew the program didn't work. You know, I knew that I said, you know, I knew they were lying to me. I knew you were lying to me when I was in rehab, and you came up and you told me he had 30 days, and I thought, you're so full of shit, man. Nobody has 30 days. Yeah. I swear to God, I didn't believe you had 30. I didn't believe you had, you know, I knew you were taking Valium. I knew you were, you know, I knew it. It's like the idea that you could go one day without something in your body was absolutely unacceptable to me. And I knew I couldn't, so I knew that there was no way you could, because I certainly was better than you. You know, but I was less than you too, so. Man, alcoholism is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's a disease that tells me that I don't have a disease. It's a disease that tells me that I'm better than you. Then it's a disease that tells me there's no way I could ever measure up to you. It's a disease that tells me when I wake up in the morning, you're a piece of shit. There's no point in even getting out of bed. You might as well just blow your brains out. And I've had mornings like that in recovery. And what I have to do is what Colleen talked about, good orderly direction. When I was newly sober, thank God I had some old timers around me that just told me, Dallas, just shut up, man. Keep coming back. Keep coming back. You know, God love you. Keep coming back. I'd take chips at the podium. I'd be on methadone. I go, you know, try to explain to you why I had to take my methadone. And I think the best direction I ever got when I was new was that I had to make my bed every morning. And I thought, what kind of dumbass direction is that? And it took me about 10 years to figure out how brilliant that direction is. It's about, you see, it's about learning how to surrender and take direction and do it whether or not. You know, there's a treatment center in Pasadena that has you sweep imaginary leaves. And I love when people get kicked out of there going, well, they made me sweep these imaginary leaves, man. And it's crazy. And I'm thinking, you know, if you only knew the brilliance in that. It's about, you see, because my recovery, I now have discovered that if I don't have humility, I don't have anything. That humility is my doorway to a connection with God. And without a connection to God, I am left with my alcoholism. And my alcoholism is a bottomless pit. You cannot give me enough. Drugs, alcohol, cars, women, money, nothing. And believe me, I was like a kid in a candy shop. When they handed me all this money, I thought, well, yeah, I deserve all this money. It's crazy. And I thought it would never stop. And the thing that I did with it was I'd buy all the drugs I could possibly hold. And it was never enough. Chuck C. wrote this wonderful book, it says, if there was an ocean of alcohol, it wouldn't be enough. And that's the truth. But see, that's the way my life is today. Today, thank God, my problem is not drinking for 24 hours. Thank God. The obsession was lifted from me sometime in Beverly Glen Hospital. God bless the place, it's closed down. Sometime when some adolescent walked by and said, hey, look at that old hippie guy. And I thought, who the hell are they talking about? And it was me, I had a spiritual awakening that moment. I saw myself. And I realized what I had become. I realized what had happened to me. And finally when, that scary moment came and they took away the last detox meds, I thought maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do this. So drinking and using today is not my problem. My problem lies right here. It's between my ears. It's the thing that tells me, that I'm not good enough, that there's no point in even trying because it's all going to go away anyway. That feeling of it's too good to be true. I walk around with that feeling. Unless I turn my life and my will and my desires over to the care of God as I understand Him, I'm a miserable son of a bitch, man. I'm miserable. I'm a malcontent. See, my alcoholism is negativity. My alcoholism is negativity. When I see the glass, it's half empty. And that sucker's gonna spill. That's my alcoholism. So I have to rely on God because otherwise I think that nothing's going to work. So today it's not about drinking and using for me. Today it's not about drinking and using. It's about staying out of the way. It's about remembering that I'm a bottomless pit. It's about remembering that my primary purpose is to stay sober and to help another alcoholic. It is not to get what I want. Because I don't know what I want. I want it all, man. I want everything. There isn't enough of anything for me. Step one teaches me that I have to surrender. That teaches me that I'm powerless. And it teaches me that I have to, if I'm not working step one, I can't work step two. I don't know. Staying sober and doing life is not easy. Staying sober is not easy, man. If it were easy, I guess we wouldn't need AA, Not being an asshole is not easy, Not being a taker is hard. And that's what the steps are designed to do. The steps are designed to teach me how to care about another human being, because I guess if you knew how much I hated myself when I got here, you know, and you knew, and if you know what my life is like today, you know, that would be the story. You know, I have been in that seat where I knew that you couldn't get 24 hours sober. I have been in that place where I knew that I could not live another day, that my life was over. And mostly I wanted it over. But Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me differently. When I took my first drink, I got in a fight. And I grew up fighting people. And I haven't gotten in a fight in a long time. And mostly I haven't hit myself, you know. I haven't hit myself. That's a miracle. So it's been 11 years since a liver transplant. I think I finally found someone that loves me for who I am, you know. She's got a lot more sobriety than I do, so she keeps me humble. I think that I've found a life that I didn't deserve, you know. I think that if there weren't a God, there would be no way I could be standing here in front of you. And you know what's ironic is I have to take like 15 pills a day to stay alive. It's bizarre. You know, I had a lot of practice, so I can. If I don't remember to take these pills, I'll go into rejection and die. You know. So I think God has a sense of humor, so He's given me these 15 pills a day that I have to take that don't get me high. It's the weirdest thing. I can tell you. I cannot explain how strange this is, and I take them like clockwork, and I know I have to take them, and that's all right. You know, that's all right. But it's a part of my life, and I've accepted it. I've accepted the fact that I'm alive today because of medical science. I've accepted today that I'm alive and got a liver transplant because I was clean and sober, not for any other reason. They don't give using addicts. Well, yeah, it depends on. It's not true. That's not true. I don't think they would have given this using addict a liver had the chance. I wasn't famous enough, you know. They wouldn't have given me a liver. So I guess for the newcomer, you know what? If you're not done, please get done. That's my belief. I believe that you know, it's not about wondering whether or not we're done. You know, for me, I had to know it. I had to know it deep inside myself. I had to know that it was fucking over, and that the only choice I had was to live or to die. You know, no matter what's happened in my life, a drink or a pill or a fix, I know is just going to make matters worse. What a miracle that is for me. You know, I don't know any other way to explain it other than if you're not done, go drink and use. This is a program for people who want it. Unfortunately, it's not a program for people who need it. And when I walked into this room, my ass was kicked. So if your ass isn't kicked, please go out and get it kicked. It's the only way we're going to stay. And this is not a revolving room. This is not a revolving door. I have been to an average of 3 funerals a year. for alcoholics who think that they can go out one more time and try it again. One more time. And I can come back next week. You know? I've lost a lot of friends in this program. If you stay sober, you're going to find out that we are in the minority. We are the minority. You know? And you'll realize what a miracle each and every one of us are to be sitting in this room and not be fucked up. My natural state is drooling. My natural state. That's where I'm, you know, if I haven't, when I came to and there was a paramedic standing over me, had brought me back to life, I knew I had had a good high. Because that's the ultimate high for me. So I can't tell you what a blessing it is to not want to do that anymore. I can't tell you what a blessing it is to be able to confront the problems of life, you know, without that burden, without that having to not have the choice of whether or not I pick up and use. Today my choices are simple. Do I have a good day or do I have a bad day? It's that simple. This is not complicated. We're not talking about rocket science here. Do I have a good day or do I have a bad day? And I have the ability, because I'm not drinking and using, to press the reset button. And if I'm in out, you know, Dallas asshole world, I can press the reset button and have a rest of a good day. That's all this is, man. That's all this is. So those of you that think you're going to get the new car, or God bless you, I hope you do, you know. I hope you do, man. I hope you get whatever the hell it is you want in this program, man. I'll tell you, man, it's, you know, I've watched guys come in here become real successful and make it. I've watched guys come in here and stay sober in the streets, man. And I guess I want to close with on my dying day, when I know that it's about to be over, I'm going to know that I helped another human being. And I know that I have a relationship with God. And it's not going to matter what's parked in the driveway. It's not going to matter who's holding my hand when I die. It's not going to matter where I die. What's going to matter is that I know that I'm going to be going into the arms of my Father. That's it. And that's the gift of Alcoholics Anonymous. It has taught me that the only thing that matters is a relationship with God and an understanding that God is the only reward in this program. So I've blabbed on enough. That's it. Thanks.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think. Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops. Wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.